Hi, guys. Hope you're well today. Came across an article that is further displaying the insanity of the world we currently live in. And so I talked about SPACs and how, to me, this signals just the market being in a complete mania. And then I also talked about certain people who are promoting these SPACs, one individual in particular, who is on CNBC just constantly talking about how he's raising another SPAC. And if you understand how these things operate, not that they're just blank check companies, quote unquote, but it allows we'll call them the promoter, not the CEO, but the promoter to go out there and do these extensive marketing campaigns to really pump up the stock, where in a traditional IPO, that would be illegal. So what it does, obviously, is it caters to individuals who might be better at sales and marketing than they are at actual investing. And this is just a fantastic example of that, but it really hits home on so many different levels. So let's go over this here. We've got Colin Kaepernick plans to raise $250 million for a social justice SPAC. The board of directors is completely made up of Black, Indigenous, people of color, and represented by a female majority. Now, I have nothing against having a board of directors that looks like this, if those individuals on the board are the best, most competent individuals you can find. And if they're the most competent, then by all means, they should be there. Let me give you an example. One of the last businesses I had, and we'll scroll down here, go past this ad for a dog show. I don't know why that's there. But one of the last businesses I had, the majority of the people that were in high level positions were female. Now, did I go out and say, I'm going to start a social justice company, and I'm sick and tired of women getting 70 cents on the dollar or whatever it is. I'm sick and tired of all the issues that women have had throughout the years. I don't know why this is going nuts here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create change. I'm going to make a dent in the universe, and I'm going to stand up for women. No, I never, ever said that. I don't care. Because why? Because when I first started the business, I put in my entire life savings. In addition to that, I borrowed money at an astronomical interest rate, or the terms were completely nuts. No one other than someone like myself who had way too much confidence in his own ability would agree to such terms. So I went all in. If that business would have failed, I'd be bankrupt. Okay. So I don't care what your gender is. I don't care about the color of your skin. I care about one thing and one thing only. Can you make me money? And are you the best person for the position? Period. Now, as it turned out of all the people I interviewed and the people I recruited, the best people for those key positions most often were women. Fine, so be it. And they got there because they were the best. They didn't get there because of their gender. And I can promise you, I know these gals well, and a lot of them I'm still in contact with. If I would have said, okay, I'm giving you this job solely on the basis of your gender and not because you're the best person for the gig, they would have not only told me to pound sand, they probably would have given me the finger and punched me in the face. So they didn't want that. They wanted to be judged on merit. You see, when we start judging people on other things, I mean, the list of problems this creates is inconceivable, and the unintended consequences are immeasurable. So moving on here, and I had this thing highlighted. I don't know what happened, but I think that ad refreshing took away my highlight thing. But anyway, former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick plans to raise $250 million, like we said before, for a special purpose acquisition company focused on racial equality and social justice. But again, it goes back to the same mentality. Like, why? Why not? Why are we not setting up a SPAC to create shareholder value? Like, why are we not doing that? Why are we? So this isn't a SPAC. This is a charity. So why not just call it what it is? Why not just set up a charity to promote racial equality and social justice, and then raise $250 million for your charity? Why spin it as though you're trying to make money? And I'll tell you the reason why. Because he knows that there's a large group of investors out there that have just cash being thrown at them because what the Fed is doing. And there's so much liquidity in the system. And he knows that if he creates this SPAC and he has the right marketing spin, then they'll give him $20 million. And if you got a fund that has $10 billion assets under management, sure, give the former NFL quarterback 10 million, 20 million. Who cares? It's a rounding error. It's a drop in the bucket. And then we can say that we're standing up for racial equality and social justice issues. It's a PR scheme. And that's what really frustrates me. Now, I think it's great that there's going to be some, well, let's move on here, because initially you would think that this is the plus side is that there's going to be some businesses started by people that have maybe had some setbacks in life. And this is going to give them the funding they need to start their business and really compete with businesses that are more established. So whether that's, Black-owned businesses or Hispanic or women, okay, fine. Again, I think the money should go to the businesses who can give us the highest return, but at least that would be some sort of upside. But that's not what they're doing. You see it in the next paragraph or the next sentence. It says the SPAC, called Mission Advancement Corporation, will target companies with an enterprise value greater than $1 billion. Not sure how they're doing that, 250 million, but anyway, greater than 1 billion that have a scalable business model and an established U.S. customer base. Okay, what does that have to do with racial equality and social justice? I'm not quite sure. SPACs, commonly known as blank check companies, are set up with the purpose of raising money through initial public offering, IPO, to eventually acquire another business. And let's keep in mind, guys, eventually acquire another business. From the research I've done, they have a 2-year time window in which they have to acquire a business. And I know the argument is like, well, George, no, these SPACs are fantastic because if they don't acquire a business, then everyone gets their money back. No harm, no foul. Right? But think about the incentive structure there. They're going to go out and buy any business, even if it's dog crap, because they want to put that money to work. And let's remember that Mr. Kaepernick and crew will be getting paid fees for managing the money in the 2-year time frame, even if they don't invest it. You see, so what we've done is we've set up this incentive structure where the incentive isn't really to make money. It's not ROI. It's just to get as much money under management as you possibly can to collect the fees. And if you're Mr. Kaepernick, well, a great marketing plan and a great way to solicit this investing is to set up this social justice fund. That's your marketing spin. And I'm not implying that this is his main rationale for setting this up. I don't think that, well, I don't know if he has ulterior motives or not, but I think we should be slightly suspicious that it just so happens that this is a great way to, if Colin Kaepernick came out and said that he's raising $250 million to start his own SPAC or whatever, or he's got a company that he wants to raise $250 million for, how many investors are going to line up to give him $250 million to start his own company? Probably not many. But if you wrap it with this social justice marketing package, and then all of a sudden it becomes a PR move for these big hedge funds, well, now you can do it. Now it makes sense. And now you're going to get all these assets under management and collect your fees. So I think we need to be skeptical here is what I'm saying. So number one, this shows how massive a bubble we're in right now, because at any other point in time, there wouldn't be the liquidity out there to throw at some sort of investment scheme, which states that its initial purpose isn't really to make money. It's just to spread awareness of racial equality or inequality and social justice. So think about setting this up in 2009 as an example. You wouldn't have raised one penny because no one had any money, right? But now we've just got money spilling out of every crevice and every corner of every financial institution in the United States because of the Fed and quantitative easing and so many other things. So now there's just money sloshing around everywhere. And we've really kind of lost the concept of why money or even currency should have value. And that should be tied to hard work and production. But moving on here. And here, let's see if I can highlight it again here, because I think this is really says a lot, although it may be unintentional. The investment firm Najafi Companies will work with Kaepernick, who is acting as a co-sponsor and a co-chairman, to leverage his marketing or marketability, and experience with brands such as Nike and Walt Disney. So you see what's happening here? Jeez. How ironic that an ad starts playing that's promoting another SPAC. I mean, at what point is this just it's like every single day you turn on the news, it's just, you can't even, it's like stranger than fiction. Like, even if I tried to think of what could be the next craziest thing, like I would have never come to this conclusion. I never would have imagined we'd be at a level of insanity that we're currently in, and who knows where we're going in the future. I mean, my goodness gracious. But my point is, you notice leverage his marketability. You see, so this is all about AUM. It's all about assets under management, and they're not creating shareholder value, or they're not trying to think of how they can get an ROI. They're only thinking about a story. How can we create a story that will raise money, and therefore we can collect fees? In my opinion, that's what this is all about. And you may argue that this is a good message, and so, well, fine. I don't know about that, because I think the message should be that we judge you not based on your gender, not based on the color of your skin, but what you bring to the table, for heaven's sakes. Just like the business I started way back in the 2000s that just happened to have many of the key employees as women. It wasn't because they were women. It was because they were the best person for the job. And for a variety of different reasons, we're completely ignoring that today, which is so ironic because think about what we're doing. We're saying that we're not judging you on your merit. We're exclusively judging you on these other components, such as your gender. And isn't that what we're trying to move away from? I mean, isn't that discrimination in and of itself? I mean, come on. Don't you see the irony in this? I mean, it just drives you crazy. So, and here is where, if you're wondering, well, maybe they've got good intentions, well, maybe they're trying to make money, well, maybe they're not taking advantage of a certain situation and all of this liquidity just sloshing around the market. Maybe they're not taking advantage of the fact that the market is in a huge bubble and we're in a mania. Okay. For those of you who are watching this, geez, I don't know what is going on. This ad, every single time it refreshes, it just screws up my whole thing here. Oh, geez, and now it starts replaying. All right, so note to self, never, ever, ever for the rest of my life go to Fox News or Fox Business for any video. But anyway, so if you're kind of riding the fence here, former MLB star, all-star Alex Rodriguez earlier this month announced his intention to raise $500 million for a SPAC, Slam Corp, that followed an October announcement from NBA Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal, who serves as an advisor to another SPAC, Forest Road Acquisition. I'll go ahead and just drop the mic on that one because come on, if you're trying to convince yourself that what Colin Kaepernick is doing is, for the good of humanity and not taking advantage of a way to market a new SPAC because the stock market is at an all-time high and in a mania, I honestly, I think you're lying to yourself. And if that makes you feel good, fine. You're the person that has to look yourself in the mirror.